Emotionally unavailable.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hey guys, today's episode is with David Taryn, life coach. He is a certified dream builder life coach and can help you design and manifest a life you love living. We had such a good time, and he is if you just look at the picture that I posted for the episode, he's so genuine. And the whole time I was talking, I was just like, oh my gosh, you remind me so much of my dad, the way he looks, which I told him the next time we met for something else. But anyway, really good guy, and just very tender-hearted, and you can tell he really has a heart for people, and he knows his stuff, and he really helps you understand how big of a difference it makes with your mindset. So I don't have a lot of time, so that's the only intro you're going to get. So I hope that you enjoy this episode with me and David.
Emotionally unavailable.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can now that I turned my headphones on.
Okay, good. How are you today?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. So I saw that you are a dream builder. Is that what you say?
Yeah, I started out, I got a couple certifications in life coaching, and Dream Builder was one of the certifications I got. And so in all of my studies, I started finding that there's so much more than that, right?
Yeah.
Along the lines of, money doesn't make you happy kind of thing. It's like finding out who you are and being, settled with who you are is what makes you happy.
Yeah, and I think like the people who I hope you know what I mean by this, but not even just you. I'm worried this is going to offend somebody, but you know how there's those like people that are just lucky. Like they just like met a couple of people at the right time, whatever. What it was meant for them, whatever. But they didn't go through like that crawling through the mud phase where you're just trying to figure shit out. And then they reach this level of success very quickly without all of that. It's like a form of spiritual bypassing, I feel, because like the kind of shit that we're talking about really happens like one aha moment at a time where they skipped all that, right? Because for whatever reason, they had this really good fortune. And I think those are the people that like we look to and we go, why are they not happy? Like they have everything and they didn't even like have to like do this much, and they have everything that a person could possibly want. And I mean, listen, money makes things a little less stressful. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but like in terms of wealth and prosperity versus kind of just having what you need and maybe a little a little extra, and I'm not going to glorify either one, but at least the process I will glorify of getting to any level of success. If you have to go through those evolutions and get a bunch of aha moments, that is more prosperous and more abundant than money.
Yeah, I mean that's the Buddhist saying, right? It's like from the mud comes the lotus flower.
Yeah.
But what I've come to find out is that it's really about your mindset. So my little tagline is change your thoughts, change your experience. I wrote about this in my last couple of newsletters. But the idea is, what is lucky? What is lucky? I mean, how do you define, what's the definition? It's like people get things easily. I don't know. I was going to look that up because funny enough, I had the thought about that.
It is a good question.
Right. It's like, what is lucky? But so my thought on that is people that, as you say, just kind of fall backwards into stuff that some of the rest of us go, how did you do that? Why didn't you, why didn't you trudge through what I call the mud puddle? Right. It's like, how did you get through that? Just like leaped over it. And I think it all has to do with the mindset. And by that, I mean, what you expect becomes easy, is easy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, God, the psyche is so complex. But if you don't feel like you deserve it, or you haven't gone through the right steps to get it, then it's gonna feel out of reach, right?
Right.
But if you don't have any energy around that, if you don't have any thoughts around that's hard about that thing, and as a matter of fact, oh yeah, sure, you just do this, and you're done. You get it. Then you get it, right? And it's all about the mindset. It's like, and I have no judgment on people that have a lot of money or don't have any money, right? I don't have any judgment on anybody, because we're all unique and we're all trying to get through this thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're trying so hard.
Yeah, exactly. And just a little side note, right? It's about the journey, not the destination. It's in the learning. The journey is the learning. But people that grow up in a comfortable, well-to-do family, and you think, oh yeah, they have money, they're typically successful. Not always, but they're typically successful, and you think, oh God, they got through that because they have all this money and family. But I might throw out the question, is it because their mindset, because financial things came to them easily? If in psychology they talk about, the first several years, right, the single digits of a child, the brain is in pretty much a hypnotic state, trying to take in everything to understand how to live, how to successfully, but we don't have the tools to interpret and make the right assumptions and understandings of every one of our experiences, because we've only been around, single digits, right? 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
So we misinterpret things. We have experiences.
Well, yeah. I mean, as you were saying that, what I thought was, imagine the difference in programming that a person born into poverty experiences versus a person born into wealth. A person born into poverty oftentimes has parents that are like, life is hard. You're going to have to work for everything you get. Blah, blah, blah. The world, you're like, you've already got 10 things stacked against you, versus a person born into wealth really is programmed with different things. Like, I'm trying to think of an example, but maybe even just like, ask and you shall receive, but even if that's an implicit programming, it's true. I mean, usually that's what you see is ask and you shall receive. And even you have all the potential, you have a lot of opportunity, those are the things that you're going to receive. I'm not saying that anyone born into wealth is not also experiencing trauma and all the things, but their programming around money is certainly different. I think that's probably part of the privilege, actually, because they are taught that money comes easily. Like I don't think all like wealthy people are teaching their kids like, easy tricks and whatever, but they are like, hey, it's out there, it's easy, like if you just work and blah blah blah, versus the person born into poverty who is told you're gonna have to work 100 times harder than anyone else. Well, right there, imagine the blocks that you've just put in front of somebody when you say you're gonna have to work 1,000 times harder than anyone else to get anywhere in this world. Well, yeah, I mean that's a way different mindset than, honey, look, I built this life because I wanted to give you opportunities. The opportunities are right here at your doorstep, you know?
Exactly. And what's even more powerful than them talking is this saying the same things just by their action, right? Just how they're living their life. The parents are living their lives. I don't believe everybody that's poor that is unhappy.
Oh, sure.
Right. They may want more, right? And be financially stable, because that's one of our things, right? Is to be safe, find safety for ourselves. But I found, being a father, that children typically do what you do and not what you say.
Absolutely. Isn't that true?
Yeah, right.
They don't give a shit about all the words that you spend time lecturing them with. They are very much just watching you.
Yeah. Especially, like, again, back to that, when they're young, single digits, and they're just taking it in. They're trying to interpret, and they don't have a good interpreter.
Right.
So they're trying to make it up. And then, I mean, that's just day-to-day normal stuff, right? And then when you throw trauma at them, inadvertently, and to whatever degree that they experience that builds a whole nother level of their mindset that they don't understand. They're like, all they're looking for at that point is to protect themselves.
Right.
Most of the time we take that into adulthood. And the techniques we used when we were young are no longer appropriate, typically. But we still use them because we don't understand that, right? We always talk about, you hear the comment, the child within, right? Your younger self. That's really a thing, right? There's all these little psyches that run, personas that run in your mind for different things, right? Think about it when you're at work, at a job, and you have this whole different demeanor as how you act.
Right.
You think it's your regular self, but not necessarily, especially if you're in a meeting with, bosses and stuff, right? You put on this, this is my professional persona.
I am such a good employee.
Exactly. So we have all these different personas that, it's kind of like being an actor and running from one play to a next, right? Next door. Lose track of who you really are, which is, what you may do at the end of the day, and sit down on the couch or chair or whatever and just go, okay, now it can be me.
Yeah.
Not overtly, right? You don't say that out loud. Maybe
well,
sometimes
no,
you do.
Even like, I worked in education for 7 years, and that was the hardest 7 years of my life. And I remember thinking, going into it, knowing what the struggle was going to be for me, and that was being on all day. Yeah. Like, I knew I couldn't give these kids the harshest version of me. So I had to be on and present. Like, you don't get to just like have a bad day and sit on your ass. Like, you don't like,
right.
Versus when I switched roles to school counselor, I could, maneuver my schedule or whatever. But as a teacher, you're on all fucking day. And yes, I remember getting home and being like, oh my God, just like, I can be snappy, I can be tired, I can be whatever the fuck I want to be. Right. But honestly, like, all of those things, like the masks, that the different ones that you put on throughout your day, no matter who you're talking to, God, that became so fucking exhausting. And I think that's the thing I love about my life the very fucking most right now, and have since I made this move to entrepreneurship and, self-employment, is I made a vow to be exactly who I am, no matter who I'm in front of. And Like, I'm a therapist, and the first time I meet a client, I'm like, I just need you to understand, I refer to myself as non-traditional because I'm not going to be like anyone else you've ever met. I'm going to be exactly who I am, and I'm not going to talk to you any differently than I talk to my kids, my podcast guests, my friends, my husband, whoever. Like, you're going to get exactly who I am. And I hope that's a fit for you. But if it's not, please don't hesitate to find somebody who is, because it's not going to hurt me. Like, we're either meant for each other or we're not. And that's okay. Please don't stick around if I'm not resonating with you, because I am meant for people. There are people out there being sent to my energy directly. I believe that you were meant for me. But if you don't, please don't wait around. Go find some, because like, you signed up for a therapy session because you need it. So like, if you need help finding someone else or whatever else, but I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be exactly who I am.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and people, there are, right. We have these overlaps where we do connect with some people, and some people, the old Venn diagram, right? We connect with some people, and then some people we really don't, and that's okay. That's okay. Everybody's doing their own thing. There's somebody for those people that don't connect with us,
right?
So we do need to let them know that up front, so that we don't get too far down the path where neither one of us is having a good time,
right?
Doing the thing, right? So
whatever it is, yes.
Yeah, whatever it is. So they get to find somebody that they do click with, right? They click, or it's in their circle, or we call it, your people, or my people and not my people.
Yes, yeah.
However you want to say it, right?
Yeah.
Your tribe and all those other,
mm-hmm.
Ways of saying it. I mean, yeah, that's very important, because it not only affects them, it affects you, because you can't give yourself, if you're not finding a common path, you can't connect. And if you can't connect, you're not really helping.
Yeah, and I
mean, you're frustrated, and they're frustrated. Yeah,
because everything that I do comes from a place of connection, first with myself and then with each other. And that's my life force. So like, if it's not being received by you, we're really wasting some fucking time here.
Right. Yeah. So it's you're actually happier to connect them with somebody else. Or even at the bare minimum say, I'm sorry, we're not connecting here. I want the best for you.
Right.
So please, I'll try to help you find somebody, but please find somebody that you connect with, because that's where you're going to get the most benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause I'm sorry, but it's more than a job. So like, if I can make that amount of money either with somebody I connect with or not, and it is it's a long hour if it's not a vibe. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like those sessions could be really boring, and just, if we're not flowing the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, but the fact that I'm allowed to just be whoever I am, like, there is a natural flow with that, because this is my gift. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, communication is my gift. And so, but if there's somebody who's just really stuck in receiving information in a particular way or giving information in a particular way, that's just not going to work for me. Like, you're not going to get my full potential if you're blocking things the whole way, just because I'm not the energy meant for your energy. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wanted to ask you about this. Like, okay, I don't know why I'm feeling so like pressed to talk to you about this, but okay. So this is like more to like the point of where we started. But yesterday I had on a tarot reader, and we were talking, and just, it was a vibe. And we were talking about money, because it comes up a lot. And I was like, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going wrong in the manifesting, because like I'm ready to be able to pay my bills on time. I was like, I'm kind of stressed. Like, so whatever. And she said, and I had to cut out, like, yesterday's, I had to cut this episode short because I scheduled an appointment incorrectly. So I was so bummed, because right at the end is when we talked about this. But the sequence of events that happened is just crazy. And I just am having this overwhelming need to like discuss this with you. But okay, so I'm pretty open and honest about all of my struggles on here because like that's who I am, right?
Right.
And so like I said blah blah about my car payment being late, and she's like,
Right.
yeah, no, I feel you. And she's like, this isn't what you're going to want to hear, but I had to build a really solid foundation of gratitude, just like I know my needs are being met, and that being enough, and being really grateful. And I thought to myself, like I received what she said, and I was like, huh, okay, yeah. And I was like, gosh, I felt like I was. But we hung up the phone, and I thought, okay, more gratitude. And I had a thought immediately, like, no, baby, like where you're missing the link to gratitude is that a couple different ways. One, I do feel so fucking unsafe not knowing where the money's coming from. I do feel unsafe, and not knowing when it's coming. I feel unsafe all the time. So that is in stark contrast to gratitude. And then the other thing is when I do get something and it feels amazing and I am so grateful, but my first thought is always, okay, maybe this is it. I'm not living in the moment of gratitude. I'm like future forecasting, right? So then this is what happened. I was so stressed during that call because I had the weight of the world on my shoulders about this car payment. And I had that thought and I was like, okay, I'm going to practice that. Just then the phone rings and it's the bank. And I spoke with them last week and I said I would pay that fucking car payment by Friday. And guess what? Lots of cancellations and so I didn't have the money. And I was stressed about it all weekend because I didn't make myself call them on Friday, but they called. I think that was all divine timing. I'm glad it happened the way it did, but because I was super stressed. So they called and I said, I know I said I would pay that. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, no. We're not here to give you a hard time. We're trying to help you. Like, what do you need? Which is hard for me, first of all. And I was like, I'm just like, I don't want to tell them that I quit that job and that whatever. I'm afraid they'll come take my car, you know? So I'm like, I've had a decrease in income. I'm just really stressed right now, like whatever. And they said, hey, you have a skip payment available. Do you want to do that? And I said, yes, please let me do that. And so I did. And oh my God, the whole weight was lifted. But I caught myself that future forecasting. And I was like, this is what she meant right here. I have to sit in gratitude, not wondering what comes next, not wondering where the next, because I didn't have to pay that payment and put the money that I did have towards that. I was then able to make my minimum payments on my credit card. So all the bills are caught up for right now. Great. But I was like, future forecasting again. But I said, no, like, you aren't feeling safe and secure in the knowledge that you don't know how, but that you know everything will be okay, that your needs will be met. Because I do say that a lot, but when I don't get proof, I get really scared. And so I'm wondering all of that to say, like, what your thoughts are on that, but also, am I getting it right? Is that right? Like the foundation of gratitude?
So yes. So the you've heard the, be here now, right? Be in the now, think of the now. In this moment, you have everything you need just for this moment.
Yeah.
Not a minute, not in a minute, right now in this moment. Because where we work ourselves up is thinking about the past, which is gone. Can't do anything about it. And I heard this great quote. It said, worry is like a rocking chair. It's a lot of work and it gets you nowhere.
Oh my God. That's a good one. That's a good one.
And I depending on who you listen to, the number varies, but 99% of what we worry about in the future doesn't ever come to pass.
Right.
We make up these monsters in the future and all this. So, there's kind of that flippant saying, be here now. People don't ever fill in much what that really means. And what that really means is exactly what you said. Be grateful for what you have now. Because look at where you are. Which is that other statement, I say everything is always working out for me, right?
Yeah, I say that too.
When you think of where you are and everything that you've gone through to get here to where you are, you can be grateful for that. That's right. Again, we don't want to spend too much time thinking in the past unless we're thinking about things that will motivate us and
Yeah, and
make
I
us
felt
feel
like I was really like overall living in gratitude. I mean, I have a gratitude practice and whatever. I just didn't realize the level of insecurity felt because of money. Like that I feel so unsafe when I can't pay something or when my kid needs something, or like it's not just like I feel like I've worked through the worthiness part of those security issues, but like just that inner child in me really feeling so scared of losing what I have because of money issues in childhood and then early adulthood, then,
right.
finally getting to a place where I felt really financially secure. I could have had more and been happier, obviously, but like I was in my former life, financially, I was fine. Like we were fine and doing
Right.
the thing and whatever. And kids asked for something, they got it, like whatever. But obviously, I look back, I mean, I was living in a life that made me want to die. So the money wasn't like doing much for me. So yeah,
Right.
I have so much gratitude for the life that I'm building for myself, but I just didn't realize that in those moments I was not being as present as I needed to be because it was an automatic thought of, yay, the manifestations are coming true. And here's what's hilarious to me. Every time I did that, the next hour everything went to shit. Like I'd
Right.
get some really big news and then I'd get way too excited about what it would mean for the future and then blah, 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 shit.
Right. So one of the other things that I talk about and teach is like words are powerful,
Mhm.
and what we focus on, right? What we focus on is important, right? It's like, well, there are several sayings around that. It's true. So you have a mental mindset, right? You have a mindset around what your experience has been so far and how you survived so far.
Mhm.
Um, and all your thoughts are around, I survived all that, you know, and maybe how am I going to survive this going forward?
Yeah.
So what's important about that is that's where your mindset is how am I going to survive? So the challenge is to rework that and say, I have survived to today. I've made it
Yeah.
to today. So I'm certainly going to survive going forward. It's a subtle shift, but it's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Same subject, but it's the other side of the coin. There's a part of the brain, the thinking process called the reticular activation system, and it's basically what you focus on is what you're going to see. It's kind of like information bias.
Mhm.
Um, you keep saying, "God, I'm having such a hard time, and this is going crappy," and blah blah blah, and then you're like, "Oh, look, there's something else that happened."
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Well, it kind of builds on itself, right? It's a machine, and what you put in comes out. It's that shifting of your mindset that will change your experience. The mindset, whatever your mindset is, we talk about free will, and they've done lots of research on this, and we think, oh yeah, we free will, we can choose to do whatever we want to do. We can, I certainly have free will, but technically you really don't, because you have free will to choose from what your mindset will accept, because and that's illustrated in comments like, yeah, that'd be nice, but right,
Yes.
you
Do you know
can't
what I
conceive of
hate?
it.
When I say to somebody, "Hey, the only thing standing between you and that is you," and their response is, "And money."
Right,
And
right,
I'm like, "Well,
no,
yeah, you're the reason too there." Like, you know what I mean?
right. So look at this is always an interesting thing, this always flabbergasts me. Look at all the different things going on where they're just giving people money, right?
Mhm.
Contest. They have the, the lottery and all those different things. Radio stations are giving away money. Call in, be number 10 caller, I'll give you $1,000. Blah, blah, blah. Money is flowing. Money is flowing freely. It's available for free from almost everywhere. It's being given away everywhere. But the mindset is like, oh, I never win anything.
Mhm.
Okay, you never win anything. Let's take that path. Let's do that for a while. And so you're like, okay, well, I never, but then you probably know somebody. Oh, I always win stuff, right?
Yes.
And every little ticket thing you do at the fair or a little barbecue or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, I win again. Mindset. It's an expectation. It's what you expect to happen. Well, to get to the level of expecting it to happen, it has to be okay in your mindset.
Yeah.
So if
You
you're
can't
like,
be afraid of it. Yeah.
well, it has to be just it has to be the next obvious thing to happen. I'm a car guy, so this is an interesting thing. I was looking for a particular car. I was going to buy a new car, and I was really into it because I'm, like the way it looks, and I like the color of it, and all that, all those little details. Some people are like, it's a car, I don't care. I just need to get to A to B. So it's probably not as obvious to them, or doesn't have this experience. But I was driving around in my old car, thinking about the new car, and then all of a sudden I started seeing it everywhere. I'm like,
Mhm.
where are all these cars coming from? What? All of a sudden everybody bought the same car that I want to buy? No, they've always been around. They've always been driving by. I just wasn't paying attention to it.
Right.
It wasn't on my mind to think about. So as soon as I started thinking about the car, then my mind's looking out for, confirmation bias. It's looking
Yeah.
for that stuff. That's how opportunities come around. When you think, oh, well, I don't get the right opportunities to progress or make more money or anything, then okay, you don't. The mindset is like completely neutral. Does not judge, good or bad. Right? That's a subjective thing that we do, because I can give you lots of examples where some people think that situation is terrible and some people think that situation is good,
Absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
So good and bad are made up in our heads.
Yeah. We
Um,
assign the meaning.
Yep, absolutely. Even to the power of words. If you think about, well, I don't know how about you feel, but it's so funny when I hear some people say the word moist, right? And they go,
I'm one of the
ooh.
people who hates that word. Yes.
But I think you'll agree with me, that's just a thought, right?
Yeah. It's because of what it's associated with in my brain. Yeah.
And here's another interesting thing, like yawning, right? If one person yawns, other
Yes.
people yawn. If one person starts to make a deal about the word moist, and other people around them are like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about it that way. They can pick up the same trait. They can pick up the
Yes.
same thought process around moist. And then they're like, ooh, moist. Things happen so subtly, and our options are based within our mindset. So we need to go back into the mindset and understand in understanding that, and then just kind of work our way back out. We can create a new mindset. We can evolve our mindset by looking at all the good things that we have in our lives, right?
Mhm.
If we feel lack and we feel in danger and we feel scared, well, let's be in the moment for a minute and think of all the things. Right now I have a roof over my head. I have everything I need right here, and I'm
Mhm.
good. All right, I'm totally satisfied. And as I was saying before, your everything that happened in your life brought you to where you are now. All the
Mhm.
learnings, all the understandings, whether we judge them good or bad, kind of becomes irrelevant when you understand that this is what taught you and drove you to where you are now, to be who you are now, to know what you know now. to express what you know now, and to be more empathetic a lot of times, more compassionate for other people.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. Now, it doesn't always work out that way, right? It can be somebody has a rough time with other people and they can turn kind of sour and be, and therefore reflect that back out.
Right.
But I think that's more of an automatic response, right? When we go in and we work at understanding how we got to that mindset and look at and flip the coin on it, then we can learn that we all have challenges and we're all doing the best we can within the constraints allowed by our mindset.
Yeah, that's something I preach a lot. Is just like we're all kind of doing the same stuff. We walk around with the same shitty narratives until you heal them, and learning that like I was doing a bunch of toxic stuff too that I was accusing everyone else around me of doing, and they were too, but like I didn't see how I was doing the exact same thing because it looked different, and I knew what, or thought I knew what my motivators were versus just filling in the blanks for what theirs were. Now I understand we all have very similar intrinsic motivation and where that comes from, how we're programmed to receive it. And when I was able to see, like, oh, I do that too, I could chill out and really get into the compassion for others. But then in response to that, I could give that same compassion to myself. And it's really been like a really nice figure eight back and forth of giving and receiving love for myself, compassion for myself. And it is only when you love yourself and give yourself compassion that you are truly able to give those things to others and receive those things from others. And so that's been a really beautiful part of healing for me, is just to not sit in judgment of others, but to accept who they are and have a pretty good understanding of how people become the people that they are, and that I'm not that different than them.
Right. Yeah, that's probably, I would say, in my opinion, it's probably the most important thing you can do is go inside and learn that you're okay and have love and compassion for yourself first, right? You can't give what you don't have. That's why I say, you know, the saying is like, put others first, right? Be a good person and put others first.
Right.
Well, that's wonderful, but and I agree to it with a caveat in that if you have nothing to give, you have nothing to give to those people that come first.
Right.
So you actually have to come first. You have to find a way to fill your pitcher of water.
Yeah.
So that you can pour into other people.
Yeah. And I feel like that pops up in such sneaky ways sometimes, because you can feel like you have a really good handle on knowing what you need and when you need it, and then still someone ask for something that you didn't check in with yourself first, and it not feel like it could feel so benign, the ask, but just not acknowledging like, man, I'm really low on energy right now, or I'm really low on time right now, or even resources. Like, especially the biggest example I'd be able to give is like with my kids, is the different ways that they need you. It's not just like, can you give me advice, or can you show me how to do this, or can you drive me somewhere, or whatever. There's a lot of different asks from kids. And I felt a lot of kickback when I first got really honest with people about the fact that, like, no, even above my kids, I put myself first, because the amount of times I have found myself not having anything to give, but trying so hard to meet their need, it wasn't worth it for anyone involved. I promise you. Like because I'm a person who, if I'm trying to give something from a very dry place, I'm gonna be doing it very agitated, and you're gonna get the worst version of me. And
right.
And I just got to a place where I'm like, guys, I get it. And I'd rather just sit with you in your disappointment when I have to say no than for all of us to have hurt feelings because of the shit I'm going to do if I don't say no.
Right. Everything's going to come loose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that's the same kind of thought process to go through with clients, right? Do we click? Good. Let's dive in. Do we not click? I gotta let you go, but I'll help you find your way to somebody that you click with, right? It's all about boundaries because, like you said, you want to be there for people, and can be a very little subtle thing and sneak in. You're like, yeah, okay, whatever. And next thing you know, you're falling apart. You're coming loose, and
Resentful.
nobody,
Yes.
wanted to have that experience.
No, they did. I can tell you so many stories about all the times.
Oh, no. I understand. Yeah. Kids will, I mean, they're, the mindset is they're our kids. We have to take care of them. We have to give them everything. They come from us. They grow from us mentally, emotionally. And so, right there's an example, right? We're back to this. They don't do what we say, they do what we do. They watch us. So if we're handling a situation and maybe let's call it just not the best way, then they're like, oh, that's how you do it. Okay. Especially when they're younger, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so when you get into something you don't want to do, oh, okay, we just express anger.
Right.
Yeah. They're like, okay, file that away.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
no reference for it.
Noted.
Right. Okay. I got that reaction. Now that's how we do this.
Oh, God.
And then that sticks in their mind and they grow up and they be, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. And they get into a situation and boom, they just blow up in anger.
Yeah.
They don't know why, unless they've gone through a process. But it's so weird. The deeper I dive into this, it's complex. And yet when you start to understand it, you can see the path through, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different input. There's a lot of influence. And at the same time, when you start to understand, you're like, oh, okay. This is A equals B, and C equals D.
The math is finally mathing.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is so much how I felt yesterday. Like just trying to understand where I've been misleading myself. Like, oh, I didn't realize I did still feel so scared of the world if I don't have the security of money. Okay.
Yeah. And those are, it's the old iceberg, right? The unconscious is like 99% of the consciousness of what's going on in your mind.
Right.
And you've got that little piece on top trying to make sense of it all. And unconscious is like, no, I got this. Here's some options. Use these options. This is what we accept.
Right. Yeah. No, that's not going to work for us.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's why people can have a windfall of money. And if they're whatever you want to call it, thermostat or whatever their default is for what financial level is acceptable, if they get a windfall of money, a lot of times they'll have a car problem or a house problem or some kind of big cost jump in and it absorbs that. I mean, not always, but it does happen because the mind's like, whoa, we're not good with having more than we need.
Right.
we need to spend that on something, get rid of it.
Yes. Oh gosh, that's so true too. Yeah, because I mean, if like I think about my grandma, I was primarily raised by her and I've been trying to unravel a lot of the money programming I received. And she was one of those who was born into poverty and she had periods in her life where she had more, but she didn't necessarily appreciate those times,
Mm-hmm.
and she had a very negative mindset. She really ascribed some of the religious teachings around being poor and poor people. Okay, listen, I'm not actually going to say this was in the Bible because I don't fucking know, but I'll tell you, she said that it was. And just about like the poor being chosen and more righteous and just some stuff. But I think, like, obviously, even as a kid, I was kind of like, I think maybe you're just saying that because you're poor and you want to feel good about it because you actually hate yourself because you don't have, because like if like my first husband, his family lived in a wealthy area, blah blah blah. Well, obviously, as I got older, I met him when I was 18. So, like, it was like, oh my God, y'all are rich. They weren't rich. They just, you know what I mean? Like, it was a prominent area, whatever. But to me, it was like, oh my God, they are so rich. And I'm just talking about it with her because, like, it was crazy to me. And she was like, oh, you think you're so much better now that you're with so and so whose parents have money and just shit like that, right? I mean, that was like, whole thing was everything related to the fact that she didn't make money, also because she wasn't educated, also because whatever, but there was a lot of things that made her feel really unworthy in the world. And I mean, I could see so clearly now, but her money shit was really toxic, and I'm trying to like unravel any of that in my programming because I know better, but I don't know of any conscious thoughts that I have like that, but just yesterday going through that process and like noticing the feeling in my body before and then feeling in my body after and trying to connect the thoughts to what was happening. Like, what were you thinking? And it really was just like the way I knew when my paychecks were coming before, and I loved it, you know, and I would pay this out of this and this out of this, and I'd pay them early, and I loved that feeling, and I always knew I go to work, I get a check, and I can pay my bills, and and it was very safe, and I just didn't realize how unsafe I feel now all the time, except for when I can get the proof, you know, when I get the proof, I'm like, yay, but I can't even be fully grateful right then because I'm like, now what? It's always now what? Like, if I have extra, do I go ahead and pay a bill early so that I know it's paid, or should I hold on to it? What, you know, it's shit like that all the time. I'm never living in the moment. And so it's been like really eye-opening the last couple of days just to sit in that. And I'm like, well, there's your programming. That's the part you got to let go of.
Yeah. If you want to know the boundaries of your mindset, listen to your talk, listen to what what you say to yourself, listen what you say to other things. I mean, not to point you out, but when you were talking about your car bill, you were all about, oh my God, right? And something worked out for you, but you were in kind of a panic mode about it.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
But your words were all around that too. So pay attention to what you say, pay attention to what you think, and that will tell you what your mindset is. And that's opening the door to the ability to change your mindset. We've got to shine a light, as they say, in the dark places. We you know, people want to avoid it. Oh, what's that thought? Oh, no, that's scary. I don't want to go in there. Okay, it's gonna haunt you until you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and again, I used the word sneaky earlier, but there's a lot of sneaky stuff, you know? I mean, sometimes I can't hear clearly what I'm saying to myself until I'm able to stop right in a moment and be like, well, oh, I just heard what I just said to myself. I wasn't on autopilot. I was, you know, trying to be very intentional with what I'm doing, and that, you know, I'm able to hear it now. Oh, okay. Wow. I remember doing that in terms of dealing with my shame too, like learning to identify what the words were that were being said to me so that I could separate them out, externalize them, understand that's not me talking to me. That's old programming. Like, that's my grandma's voice, you know, like primarily that's what I was hearing, but it sounded like me because it's my thought, you know? So I was like, oh, and just realizing like, honey, you don't have to live like that. But it took a long time for it to actually slow down enough and for me to be intentional enough to be able to like, oh, there it is. And it's funny that you used the car analogy earlier, because whenever I, teach people about shame, I'm always like, okay, so here's the deal. Now you've seen the yellow car. Like, I pointed out a yellow car to you, and everywhere you go, you're going to see the yellow car, because that's the way our brains work. It's going to be this really subtle shift where it says, hey, 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 remember how we said we kind of wanted to get better at this? And it's, at first, it's not very loud. So you have to be tuned into you, and you have to say, oh, yes, you're right. I did want to. What was that thought? And like, repeat it to yourself and figure out which archetype it falls under, and, things like that. But
yeah.
It's I love that we both have the car analogy, because it's so true. I mean, that's how our subconscious works, is the second you are aware of something, it now is like, hey, look at this.
Yeah. That's the reticular activation system. That's like you throw it in, you throw this idea in, and then the confirmation bias kicks in. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, you're focused on that. Okay, here's more of that.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of thinking about, well, to listening to your words, right? Your self-talk and your actual words is a practice, and you get better at it and better at it. And the best thing to do, well, I say the best thing, I don't know. Well, one thing you can do, let's call it that. When something comes up that is negative, right? That you don't like, that you've said in your self-talk, one way to dispel that is to ask yourself, is that true? You're like, oh, this is a thing, right? Especially if it's a flippant programming comment that pops out. And you're like, wait, is that true? Is that really a thing, or is it maybe just different?
Or even, what else can be true? Like, are there other truths?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Anything to not just to put awareness on it, which is important, but then to challenge it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because if you're not challenging it, then you're being really complicit and complacent and lending your belief to the fact that every thought or feeling are true, when 90% of them are not.
Right.
I'm just throwing out random numbers, but you know what I'm saying? Like, most things that you think or feel aren't the truth. They're not fact. They're just a fleeting moment. Your brain is capable of conjuring up literally anything. So, I'm learning that even in terms of like not entertaining, because I'm over analyzing and, things like that. So like, let's say I wake up and I'm having like a hormonal shift, so I'm doing a little more overthinking than normal. Prior to, I'd be like, what is this thought? What does it mean? Blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, oh, we're having one of them days. We got to use the tools. You know what I mean? I don't need to analyze the thoughts. They are there and they don't matter. And the point is, I want them to go away. So I'm just going to use the tools. Now, if a feeling is coming up over and over and over in several different situations, then I'll be like, damn, why is betrayal coming up so much right now? That's weird. But if I can't figure it out, I'm not going to sit and analyze it to death either. I'm like, oh, well, send me another sign later, I guess. I don't know. It's because I don't want to spend so much time in my head. That was my biggest downfall in life, was just overthinking all the time. So I don't have to entertain anything. I can just be. I get to decide when I do and don't address things, or to what level or extent that I address them. And everything doesn't have to be so serious all the time.
Right. Well, feelings, you brought that up, is another interesting thing, because I use a big word, most people, I don't know if it's most people, but I bet a lot of people that treat feelings in two different ways. They either push them away, and we're going to say negative feelings, right? Because positive feelings, right? You want to embrace those, dance with them, enjoy them. Right. So let's say feelings that don't make you feel good.
Right.
Typically, people will push them away, or they'll just dive in. Right. Oh yeah, that's right. This is so bad. This is look at this and look at that, right? And then they do that downward spiral. Feelings, as you probably know, if they're left what I call unfed, will move on in about 3 or 4 minutes. If you don't keep feeding them bad thoughts.
Yep.
The other thing is, if you stop and be with a feeling for a few minutes and say, oh, good, hello. What can you teach me? What are you here to inform me with? Right? What's your teaching? What can I learn from this feeling? What's going on in a neutral kind of way, right? And then you can start to understand what those feelings are and what they're telling you, and then how to deal with the thoughts that are going on that are causing the feeling, because I pretty much your feelings are based on your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the old, right? The old thing. I don't know if you ever had this. Imagine a lemon being squeezed into your mouth,
Yeah.
and your mouth goes.
It just did it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Your thoughts create your feelings,
Yeah.
and your mindset creates your thoughts. So it's a whole machine going on there.
Yeah.
So when you have a negative feeling or a good feeling, either one, you can go in, you know what you're thinking, you know where that's coming from, you know the information that's back there. If you're having a good feeling, then things are on track, things are going well in that situation. If you're having a bad feeling, something's going on. But it's about learning from it, not
Right.
pushing it away, and not feeding the fire
Mhm.
in that downward spiral.
Just getting curious. Yeah.
What can you teach me? What am I here? What is this feeling here to teach me?
Absolutely. Well, David, I hate to rush you off. I have a meeting now that I'm
Actually,
now.
I do too. I have another one.
Okay, I'm so sorry. If you want anything specific included in my show notes or intro, feel free to send it over. I've had such a good time with you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. I'd love to talk with you more sometime.
Absolutely. And I'm up for collaboration with anyone who wants to. So if you ever want to, you just let me know.
Yeah, that'd be super.
Okay, cool.
I am in the process of starting up my own podcast.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'd like to maybe hit you up on some. I mean, I have all the equipment,
Yeah.
just kind of technique more than technical.
Oh, yeah. I'm happy to help you in any way I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, I would look forward to having more conversations with you. It'd be great.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Well, have a wonderful Wednesday.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Emotionally unavailable.
Hey, what do you say? Listen, first and foremost, please make sure that you have provided this podcast with a 5-star rating on whichever platform that you are listening. If you want to support the show, please rate, like, and share. Also like, comment, and share on any social media posts that you see from me on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. Please follow the podcast Facebook, Emotionally Unavailable Podcast. You can shop my fun online store or schedule a one-on-one with me at emotionallyunavailablepodcast.org. I'm offering what I'm calling non-traditional counseling, astrology readings, and tarot readings. And thank you so much for listening to the Emotionally Unavailable Podcast.
Emotionally unavailable. Emotionally unavailable.